This is NBC Nightly News with John Chancellor in New York.
Good evening. New pictures of the hostages in Iran were released today by Iranian television, which sold them to Western networks. The Iranians say Christmas services were attended by 49 hostages at a secret location, while a separate service was held for 3 others in detention in the Foreign Ministry. George Lewis has been examining the pictures, and here is his report.
The Iranians released 4.5 minutes of silent film showing 16 of the hostages meeting with Catholic clergymen. With the help of State Department representatives, we have tentatively identified 15 of the Americans. Marine Sergeant Paul Lewis from Homer, Illinois. Bert Moore from Mount Vernon, Ohio. Marine Sergeant Kevin Hermaning from Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Philip Ward from Culpeper, Virginia. Army Colonel Charles Scott, Stone Mountain, Georgia. Donald Scherer, Falls Church, Virginia. Army Captain Regis Reagan, Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Richard Moorfield, San Diego, California. We're not sure who this man is. We believe this is Marine Sergeant Gregory Persinger of Seaford, Delaware. Donald Cook, Arlington, Virginia. Joseph Hall, Bend, Oregon. Marine Sergeant Stephen Kirtley, Little Rock, Arkansas. And the 2 women among the 52 hostages, Elizabeth Ann Swift of Washington, D.C., and Catherine Kobe of Fairfax, Virginia. These are the first pictures of the hostages since Easter. Back then, Catherine Kobe talked about losing weight.
Food is good and it's more than adequate, and the only reason I'm losing weight, Mother, is because I decided that was one thing I could do while I was here.
The change in her appearance is dramatic. Catherine Kobe has lost a lot of weight. Generally, the men in the film look about the same, though some have let their beards grow while others have shaved them off. Donald Cook's parents were greatly relieved to see their son. They had often worried he might not be alive. 1 year ago, when the hostages were filmed at Christmas, many of them were singing carols. There was none of that this time. Last year, there was an elaborately laid-out Christmas meal, but not this year. Last Christmas, there was a room at the embassy filled with presents and greeting cards. This Christmas, the surroundings were far more bleak. At one point, the women gave the clergymen Christmas decorations they had made. One thing left on the tree, a yellow ribbon. We do not know if the women intended for that to be symbolic. The services were conducted by the Vatican's ambassador to Iran, Monsignor Annibale Bugnini. Afterward, he told reporters the hostages had laughed and cried, but that generally they did not appear to be too lively. In the past, the Iranians have released films like this in an effort to show the hostages are not being mistreated. But these pictures do not really tell us how the Americans are holding up, physically and psychologically, on their second Christmas in captivity. George Lewis, NBC News, Washington.
Today is the 418th day of captivity for the hostages. The feeling in Washington is that they will remain in captivity, at least until the Carter administration leaves office in January, although the Carter administration is still trying to find a way to get them released. More from John Dancy.
State Department officials are maintaining a tight silence about the hostage films released today. Secretary of State Muskie viewed the films this morning, but had nothing to say. In Plains, Georgia, President Carter was asked about the film.
Mr. Carter, have you seen the tape of the hostages?
No, but I think that it's been seen by Secretary Muskie. We'll be watching tonight.
The Iran Working Group here at the State Department spent the afternoon telephoning hostage families to inform those whose sons, daughters, and husbands appeared on the film. State Department officials who viewed the film were particularly interested in the location, how the room looked, how it was lighted, who else was in the picture, like this Iranian guard, what sort of furniture was visible, and what was on the table in front of the hostages, all possible clues to the whereabouts of the hostages. The officials were also interested in how the hostages looked. The State Department said last week that many of the hostages are being held prisoner, so officials here are looking at the film carefully to see if they can get a clue as to the mental and physical condition of the hostages. Both Mr. Carter and Secretary of State Muskie sent the hostage families telegrams of support and sympathy last night. The national Christmas tree, unlighted for the last 2 Christmases, was lighted last night for 417 seconds, 1 for each day the hostages had been held. John Dansley, NBC News, the State Department.
In a minute, we'll hear what some of the families of the hostages had to say about the new pictures released today.
Hello, my name is Ellie, and meet my husband, Chuck.
Hey.
In this family, we look our troubles right in the eye.
And do something about it.
That's why for constipation, it's always X-Lax for us.
You know it's gonna work.
And you trust it to work gently. Chocolated X-Lax at bedtime, and you'll be fine in the morning.
Because X-Lax works.
You always know with X-Lax.
Today's chocolated X-Lax, you know it works, and works gently, overnight.
They're not in here.
Honey.
Come on, let's go.
It's over there.
Hey, whoa, what's happened? We lost all our traveler's checks.
Oh, that's too bad. What kind were they?
American Express.
American Express. Relax. Let's call them.
Great. You can call for help anytime from anywhere in the country with American Express traveler's checks. Ask for them by name.
At a Christmas service in Washington this morning, a lot of people were thinking about the hostages. The service was at the National Cathedral. Among those who attended were relatives of several of the Americans being held in Iran. The mood of the hostages' families here was somber, but some elsewhere were encouraged after seeing some of the hostages on television today. Here are 3 reports.
Richard Hermaning spotted his son, Marine Corps Sergeant Kevin Hermaning, even before he came in full view of the camera.
Father Yohanan Isai, an Iranian clergyman.
The father said he last got a letter from his 21-year-old son in September. The last time he saw any pictures of him was last Easter.
Kevin's skinnier,
Bob,
you know, he's thin, gotten a little thinner, but
first time, and so far
in general, from the short thing that we could see here, I think he looks in pretty good shape.
Hermaning said he had hoped his son would be home for Christmas, but seeing his son on television was still a nice present. He wished there were pictures of more hostages so more families could see their sons. Hermaning is against paying a ransom to get the hostages released. He also is against any military action. The father says he's resigned, like he thinks his son is, to just keep waiting.
After you go along for a certain period of time, you get angry and then you get frustrated and you go through all kinds of stages, and the final one is acceptance.
The Hermanings put the 418th American flag wrapped in a yellow ribbon on their Christmas tree this morning. Sergeant Hermaning's presents are under the tree. Soon they'll be taken to the closet and put with last year's Christmas presents. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Cudahy, Wisconsin.
In Mount Vernon, Ohio, the son of hostage Bert Moore was relieved to see his father looking so normal.
I thought he looked real good. I was very encouraged to see him. You know, I saw his old mannerisms. We both have this mannerism of pushing our glasses back with our fingers. And when I saw him, he looked perfectly normal to me.
Bert Moore was wearing a shirt that his family had mailed him in July. His son Bob called today's appearance an inkling of hope.
If you had asked me last week, I would have said, well, you know, I would have been pessimistic on the question of if they would ever come home. But now, you know, I can see there's hope. You know, we're going to see them someday. You know, it's going to be a long time from now.
Bob Moore spoke of his father's stability and courage. I'm proud, he said, proud that I'm his son. Bob Franken, NBC News, Mount Vernon, Ohio.
In Nebraska, the Moeller family's disappointment was evident when Sergeant Michael Moeller failed to appear among the hostages. They watched the film from Iran intently. Michael's wife, Elisa, recognized many of the hostages.
Oh, great. Greg looks good.
But it was a letdown for Michael's parents and his wife. They had hoped to see him at this year's Christmas service as they had a year ago.
He wasn't in there.
It's really hard to tell about those that you don't see.
A whole year's a long time not to see.
Last Christmas, when Elisa Mola was in Caruthersville, Missouri, it seemed to her that her husband had already been held hostage a long time. It was less than 2 months then. This year, she and her 2 daughters, Celeste, 5, and Lindsay, 3, joined her husband's family in Loop City, Nebraska. The girls are still too young to realize what it means for their father to be held hostage. Elisa Mola knows.
This is especially poignant for me. I look around this room and I look at these people, and Michael's here everywhere.
There was a Christmas dinner to be eaten, but like last year's, it lacked an important member of the family, Marine Sergeant Michael Moeller. Norma Quarles, NBC News, Loop City, Nebraska.
There was no sign either today of another American being held in Iran called the 53rd hostage. She is Cynthia Dwyer of Buffalo, New York, a freelance writer arrested last spring on charges of spying. Presumably, she spent Christmas alone in a prison cell.
Picking and choosing the right investments requires very careful handling. One wrong move can easily damage the best laid plans. At Merrill Lynch, we know that size and strength can be very valuable. But it is our sensitivity to your investment goals and agility in helping you reach them that makes us what we are. Merrill Lynch, a breed apart.
I can't get this even.
Easy, Jim.
Take your time.
Sorry, the doctor says too much caffeine makes me tense.
Well, how about some Sanka brand decaffeinated coffee?
I only like real coffee.
Sanka brand's 100% real coffee. Go ahead.
It's really good.
Now, that's a good-looking treat.
And I don't feel like a Scrooge anymore, thanks to Sanka brand.
Sanka brand. Enjoy your coffee and enjoy your holidays.
This is my good friend Freddie. Only Freddie isn't much good if his batteries don't work, so we use Duracell.
Tests show that after just a few hours of continuous use, regular carbon batteries wear out. But depending on the toy, you can get 4, 5, up to 6 times more use from Duracell. Duracell lasts longer. Duracell. The copper top battery. No regular battery looks like it.
Or lasts like it.
15,000 visitors crowded Bethlehem today to celebrate Christmas in the place where Christ was born. And in Vatican City, Pope John Paul delivered his annual Christmas message. Diane Wildman in London narrates pictures of the Pope's appearance.
At the Vatican today, about 75,000 people heard Pope John Paul wish the world a peaceful Christmas in 42 languages.
Blessed Christmas! May the peace of Christ be with you all.
Applause was longest when the Pope spoke in his native Polish.
Przez jego matkę, jego i naszą, trafiajmy zawsze do polskiego Betlehem.
Earlier, the Pope's Christmas Day message was topical, mentioning the victims of the Italian earthquake and remembering, in his words, those who die at the hands of murderers, a reference to 3 American nuns and a missionary recently killed in El Salvador. And as he has many times in the past, the Pope again condemned abortion. Finally, he called for peace, saying how much it is desired in this modern world, and at the same time, how much it is threatened. Diane Wildman, NBC News.
In Poland, this Christmas was different. For the first time in 36 years of communist rule, there were a lot of religious broadcasts, one of the things the government agreed to bring an end to last summer's strikes. There was a televised message from Pope John Paul and a live radio broadcast at midnight mass from the cathedral in the city of Krakow. Steve Mallory reports from Krakow.
The Vistula River runs past the 14th century Wawel Castle in Krakow, the first capital of a united Poland where kings ruled and worshipped. Nearby, children feed pigeons in Market Square while parents make final preparations for Christmas, waiting in line for spirits and sweets. For Eva and Yannick Vilk and their 3 children and Eva's mother, who all live in a 3-room walk-up, this Christmas proved more bountiful than last. Relatives and friends helped supply them with food. But 76-year-old Jadwiga Baluch, Eva's mother, who during World War II fought with the Polish resistance, still complained there wasn't enough butter and sugar to make all the pastries. Nearly all Polish families celebrated the birth of Christ last night. They read from the Bible, prayed, and sang carols. The traditional Christmas Eve meatless dinner, the Vigilia, is a family affair. Christmas Eve is also when gifts are exchanged. This has been a good Christmas for the Vilks. Eva and Yannick earn about $300 a month. At his office, Yannick is a leader of the independent trade union Solidarity. He says this is a good time in Poland. A fresh breeze is blowing across the country, he says. Inside the walls of the Wawel Castle, the same message rings across Poland. Sigelmund's bell announces that Christmas has begun. For the first time, the bell and midnight mass from nearby St. Stanislaw Cathedral are broadcast across the country. Franciszek Macharski, the Cardinal of Krakow, says he prays for patience in Poland. Conscious of the serious situation in the country, he asks for God's help. We are filled with fear and anxiety, he said. Show us the way of getting out of danger. He called for a spiritual renewal of the nation. 2,000 people crowded into the cathedral. Thousands more than expected, crowded outside in near-freezing temperatures. The faithful seemed to reply that the renewal was well underway. Steve Mallory, NBC News, Krakow.
What do hospitals use for relief of constipation? 9 out of 10 hospitals use gentle, dependable milk of magnesia. That's what comes in this bottle of Phillips. Phillips is a gentle liquid.
These tablets and chocolate laxatives contain ingredients that can irritate your system.
And unlike bulk laxatives that can take days to work, Phillips works dependably, usually overnight. Remember, 9 out of 10 hospitals use milk of magnesia. So get gentle, dependable Phillips.
People across America, from New York to LA.
America, here we come.
Leaving their cars at home and going the Greyhound way. No need to worry about driving when there's someone you can trust. Go Greyhound and leave the driving to us.
Nothing can match the beauty of America, and no one can show you that beauty like Greyhound. So next trip, relax. Leave your car at home and your troubles behind.
Go Greyhound. No need to worry about driving when there's someone you can trust. Go Greyhound and leave the driving to us. Go Greyhound and leave the driving to us.
The Israeli Military Command said today an army patrol spotted a heavily armed Palestinian guerrilla squad trying to cross into Israel, pursued it into Lebanon, and killed all 5 guerrillas. And in the Israeli-occupied city of Ramallah in the West Bank district, the mayor, a Palestinian, came home today. Art Kent has the story.
On June 2nd, a bomb exploded in Karim Khalaf's car in the occupied West Bank town of Ramallah. The mayor of the town, Khalaf, was rushed to the hospital, his foot blown off by the blast. A wealthy lawyer and landowner, he has been out of the country for medical treatment ever since. Today, Karim Khalaf returned to a frenzied welcome. As the crowd chanted a pledge to give their lives for liberty, Khalaf was carried into the town hall. He declared his intention to work even harder for a PLO-controlled Palestinian state on the West Bank. Khalaf accused the Israeli authorities of doing nothing to find his would-be assassins, and again said he believed it was Israeli extremists who planted the bomb that cost him his foot.
I know, but not personally.
Which group?
I guess. The extremists in Israel, that's what I'm going to say.
While Israeli soldiers kept a close watch on the welcoming celebration, Khalaf went home. He can walk, but he needs support. Khalaf's brother is a doctor in Houston, and that is where the 44-year-old Palestinian leader received most of his medical treatment. As he rested in his own home for the first time in more than 6 months, a welcoming cake decorated with a Palestinian flag served as a reminder The Khalaf has become a symbol of the effort by West Bank Arabs to seek an end to the Israeli occupation. Art Kent, NBC News, on the occupied West Bank.
The city of Zurich is a sort of shrine to the virtues of the Swiss: clean, orderly, well-behaved, and rich. It is the discreet and elegant center of the Swiss banking trade. But there's trouble in Zurich. Many of its young people don't want to be orderly, well-behaved, or discreet, and there have been riots in the streets. There were riots yesterday. A bomb went off at the airport today. Jim Bitterman prepared this report on what some would call trouble in paradise.
We Swiss, a businessman here said recently, have everything. And in the rich, clean, ordered streets of Swiss cities, where the lifestyle itself seems to move with the same tick and click precision of the clocks and streetcars, it does indeed seem as if this tiny country has it all. But of late, many Swiss have much more than they want in their streets. Since spring, primarily in Zurich, there has been a continuing and increasingly violent series of youth demonstrations and riots that has done damage in the millions of dollars and injured scores of people. The clashes with police have radicalized some young people and fueled reactionary sentiment among their elders, who want the confrontations stopped. The confrontations began here at a youth center closed because police claimed it was a center for drug abusers and criminals. But the original objective of the riots, the youth center, has widened. The young people are now in a general rebellion against the regimentation and order of Swiss society. By day, Robert Grossman and his friend Bert are, as they put it cynically, good Swiss workers, spending time at jobs they don't like, jobs they think have no future. At night and on the weekends, they have taken part in the riots and demonstrations. Robert, whose father is a director of a manufacturing firm, says he doesn't want the Switzerland of his parents' generation.
We don't want their kind of way of living. We don't want all their nuclear power stations and all their way of living with a lot of cars, and we don't want it like this. We want to change it. We also want to change, I want to change the system that we are living in.
Some of Zurich's leaders seem sympathetic to the youthful malaise, but they are uncompromising.
We have anarchistic groups in the whole thing. We don't know exactly what they want, and it's very hard if they talk with them. Sometimes they just don't want to talk.
On a recent sunny day, not far from the steeled and marbled Swiss banking district, a group of young people sat on the banks of Zurich's River Limmat, openly smoking marijuana and hashish. It's not the image the staid Swiss bankers think this country ought to have, but it's an image the burghers of Zurich find increasingly difficult to hide. Jim Bitterman, NBC News, Zurich.
Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz has died in bed, aged 89, in West Germany. A Nazi from the start, Dönitz commanded the German U-boat fleet in World War II. When Adolf Hitler committed suicide, Dönitz became his successor and ran the country for 23 days while arranging for Germany's surrender. The West German Defense Ministry said today there will be no military honors at Dönitz's funeral.
Litton knows you want it simple. Who needs lessons with Litton's new Auto-Cook microwave oven? Litton knows your recipes. Auto-Cook knows how to cook my favorite foods automatically. Litton knows you want to cook with ease. It asks me what food, how much, and how I like it done. Auto-Cook does the rest.
When you buy a Litton, you're buying everything we know.
Nobody knows more about microwave cooking than Litton.
Get interest on checking with a Now account.
Okay, Ed, good take. You know, these Now accounts sound great, but let's face it, there's a ton of places offering them. I understand they really vary, and I just don't have the time to check them all out. So who would know the most about it?
Find out from the people who invented checking. Your full-service bankers. They're professionals who can explain the various Now accounts and advise you on the right one. Look for this symbol of a full-service bank. We've got the answers.
Mom's incredible. She has arthritis, but insists on making the family breakfast, even when her arthritis is acting up. Some mornings when she got up, she'd take aspirin, but she's more careful to use Bufferin now. Aspirin sometimes upset her stomach, but Bufferin adds protection ingredients. Bayer and Anacin don't. Bufferin relieves her minor pain and its stiffness fast.
Morning, Grandma.
And it works for hours. Thank goodness Mom's more careful to use Bufferin now.
It was a cold, cold Christmas for a lot of people around the country. Below zero temperatures were the norm this morning, and records were set in many places. New York never had a colder Christmas morning. When the sun came up over Manhattan this morning, it was so cold that icy vapor hung over the Hudson River. 1 degree below zero, which broke the record set in 1872. Not a white Christmas for New Yorkers, but a very cold one. It is generally believed that Santa Claus lives with Mrs. Claus, the elves, and the reindeer at the North Pole. So, what is Mr. Santa M. Claus doing in Mesquite, Texas? Sandy Gilmore has the answer.
Here comes Santa Claus driving up Oleander Lane in Mesquite, Texas, coming home on Christmas Eve from his job with the phone company in Dallas. There is Mrs. Claus and the 4 little Clauses, all girls. The family name was Claus, and his parents could not resist naming him Santa. Santa Michael Claus.
It takes every piece of identification I have sometimes to make people honestly believe that I'm really serious.
As a child, he was known as Michael, but in college and in the Navy, he was forced to use his real first name.
He said, all right, who's the joker that signed up as Santa Claus? You know, I said, well, I'm Santa Claus, that's my name.
It hasn't been an easy name to live with. Letters from friends may wind up at the North Pole. He doesn't dare put his name on the mailbox. Then there are the crank phone calls and the endless jokes about reindeer. Still, the name has shaped his personality. He is always kind to children who call up or to disbelieving store clerks. You're a rather, if I may say so, jolly person.
Yes, I enjoy it. I get a kick out of it, and, you know, I'm got to wait for it and everything, so I enjoy being a Santa Claus.
Santa has seen merrier Christmases. This year, 2 of the girls came down with chicken pox, just like any ordinary American family.
Nothing exciting or great. We have a normal family Christmas.
That's how Santa Claus
celebrates Christmas.
Sandy Gilmore, NBC News, Mesquite, Texas.
Well, that's our report for this holiday evening. The greetings of the season from all of us here. We hope you have had a Merry Christmas, and we'll be back tomorrow evening. Until then, good night for NBC News.
Thursday, it's the best of games people play. A look at your favorite events, the finest in surfing, sand dragging, and motorcycle flying. Then it's Dick Clark's Good Old Days Part 2, from Elvis to the Beatles. A musical tribute to the biggest stars in rock and roll history. An exciting 2-hour special right after Games People Play, Christmas night on NBC.
Kane Sloan wants to start your new year off just right with white sale savings from Spring Made. Save up to 25% on the elegance of Riviera by Bassetti in sheets, pillow shams, and comforters. Save 15 to 25% on the serene beauty of the Songbird collection. Save 15 to 29% on solid sheets and spreads that add a dynamic touch to any bedroom. All from Spring Made. All on sale through January at Kane Sloan.
Why is Mr. Gaddy's pizza sauce so thick and rich? One thing is Mr. Gaddy's fresh ingredients. Another is how well Mr. Gaddy's sauce is seasoned and simmered. At Mr. Gaddy's, we add the finest tomato